Evening everybody, thank you very much for turning up. I think we're going to beat the rain. If not, we'll hear it from the roof shortly. Just so that you know, I did give Jean her bouquet of flowers from us, okay? Just in case you were wondering what happened. I did give them, and you'll see a picture of me presenting them with the...
I'll put it in the here now.
Well, we've worked out how to transfer from my favourite to yours. Our popular man, we've got Robin again tonight to enthrall us with his art and his stories.
Well, that's very kind of you.
And it's being recorded, so behave.
It's all on camera.
Now then, what's your language, lady?
The floor's yours.
Is it all right to start, Trevor? Yes. Well, first of all, thank you so much for asking me again. I was expecting it in 20 years' time. In 20 years' time, I shall be in heaven, and so I shall leave it to Rebecca, our daughter, to take over. Yeah. So, Linda, some of you know Linda, my wife. Some of you know Linda, my wife. She would have loved to have been here, but after 45 years of marriage, we can say the secret is going out for a meal twice a week. And tonight is Linda's turn.
Don't give anybody any ideas.
No. So we've got various things, hopefully to entertain you. And I know we've only got 4 hours, Trevor, haven't we? So I'm going to get moving and get things on the go. I'm going to show you, Trevor put Alice in Wonderland. Well, I have got a picture. I was a bit concerned about that, Trevor, because I haven't got a whole evening of Alice in Wonderland. We've got other things. I've brought some pictures which I've been doing since I saw you last. Seems about a fortnight ago, and a bit longer than that, though, wasn't it? It was a couple of months ago.
I forget that.
So I have brought all the pictures that I did during lockdown, which most of you have seen anyway. So I have brought some pictures which I've been doing. I'll just introduce you to them now. I've been painting that Hereford bull. I've been painting that Hereford bull, mainly waiting for a picture of our granddaughter Amber, who I painted last time. There she is. And tonight before I came out, she said, "Oh, I wish I was going to your talk, Gangan." But it's her bedtime. It's my bedtime too, really. But she did say to me, "What's a gigabyte?" And I said, "Well, it's 1 billion bytes." She said, "That must be the biggest number." And so she's 4, just 4. But she wanted to know what a gigabyte. So you've got to be ready with the answers, haven't you?
Yeah.
And of course a byte is, as we know, a measure of a computer recording bit, isn't it? Now what else have I got here? Something I haven't shown you anything like before. What I did here was, in plaster, carve out a heron, then make a rubber mould with boiling rubber, and then cast this in fiberglass, stick it onto a Hessian background, and paint it. So that's something that I used to do in the past. It's something. It's a wall decoration, really, rather than a painting. But I did quite a few of these, including Robin and various other. So that's the heron. Now that's come out. Some of these have come out of the attic. That's a little dog, and that. When I was at art college, when I came out of the Air Force, I went to art college for a year in Hereford, and there was somebody there, a young lad called Stephen Wheeler. Some of you might remember Ken and his wife, but Stephen Wheeler, and he's a Facebook friend of Linda, and he asked me if I'd paint that dog for his wife's birthday, so they're coming up to collect it. Now there's a connection between Stephen Wheeler and the next one that I'm going to show you. He is now a professor, an author, a broadcaster, and what else is he? He's a publisher. And so when I painted Sapphire, which is that's our granddaughter, she couldn't be here tonight either, so I brought this to show you. That's our granddaughter Sapphire, and the painting is from a photograph which Linda took, and here's the painting of the. That's the painting of Sapphire at Hampton Court. Now you're probably a bit far away to see it, to appreciate all of it. But that is Sapphire just looking into the distance, and Linda sent this photograph to Stephen and said, would one of your poets like to paint, write a poem about this scene? And we had 50 poems produced as a result of that. And Rebecca's going to read a couple of them tonight. And this is where Alice is mentioned. And so the connection between the little dog and this is the poetry one. So we thought that this was quite a magical photograph that Linda took. All I've had to do is paint the photograph. And so this is the painting, and I've moved the tree from, it was coming out of her head on the photograph. I moved the tree over, gave a bit more room for her foot to be shown not to be off the ground, and lowered that stone so it doesn't look like her hand is on that stone. So just minor adjustments, but other than that, and this is Hampton Court, you may know the Hampton, you may know the place. And it isn't so long ago that I painted, we'll have the poem in a minute, but this one is Hampton Court. This came out of the attic. Is it the right way up?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And if you look over here, this lady in red is Rebecca. So we've got Sapphire and Rebecca on there. So there's a lot of work. Somebody said to me they thought this was the best thing I'd ever painted. But I think after painting for 63 years, I think this is what my life has been leading up to. I'm really thrilled with that. Now I'm waiting now to paint Amber again. Now we're going to just have a couple of poems. Rebecca, if you would, about that.
Would you like this one
Yes,
first?
please. The Alison one to learn first. So this.
So this poem is called A Wonderland, and it's written by a lady called Donna Smith, and this was written in January this year. So just like Alice, she was ready for an adventure, preparing to take that next great leap, to follow the path wherever it ventured. But was the jump a bit too steep? With all her courage that she could muster, with all the bravery she could find, she held her breath and journeyed onwards, her grit and nerve now both combined. What lay ahead was still a mystery, an unknown quest for her to own.
Lovely. Yes, so that's the first one.
And then the second one is called Make Way, and this is written by J.T. Kane, writer and poet, again in January this year. Make way. Unfurling ferns and creeping vines, great mossy rugs and floral shrines. Make way for you, my dear. Make clear the path, my dear. Proud noble stones and trickle creek, warm dappled light and trees that speak. Make leap your heart, my dear. Make sweet the day, my dear.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Rebecca. This is the photograph that I use, a magical photograph, a really magical photograph. In fact, so magical that I can
Wow, I
take
wasn't expecting this.
Would you like it, Kat, to come over to you? Well, I'm afraid I'm not quite that advanced, but there we are. That's the magical photograph. That was going to be one of my big tricks tonight, but I'm glad you appreciated it. Now, I've just got a couple more pictures before we start the, I see time's cracking on, we're already 2 hours in, and I've got, yeah, I think I'll show you this next. When I started teaching, I taught for the art college. They invited me to become a tutor to the disadvantaged. Did I mention this last time? I was there for a year as a full-time student, and then they rang me up and said, would I like to teach the disadvantaged? So I thought, well, anybody who can't paint must be disadvantaged. And so I said, yes, I would. So anyway, to cut a long story short, I ended up with 5 hospitals to go to and 2 day centres, Kington and Leicester Day Centre, Bromyard, 2 hospitals in Kington, St Mary's and Leicester. Anyway, that was my week's work, really. And and then the evening classes started, and in the evening classes I would take paints and things like that for them, and somebody said, a new tube of paint, and then somebody else said, happiness is a new tube of paint. And I thought about that, and I thought, and yes, a new tube of paint is a bit like a new baby, with the potential. And what we want for our children, really, I mean, first of all, we wish them a happy life, and then we'd like them to reach their potential. And I thought, with a tube of paint, you could paint wonderful pictures, or you could waste it away and just paint nothing that was worth framing or hanging on the wall. Or the same with a life. It could be a life that makes a difference. And so, bearing that in mind, and speaking to quite a few children who are in schools to speak to children, I thought of this, and I thought, that's Sunny Jim. I mean, it's all made of cardboard, and there's a slide at the back, which goes up and down. But I made this over 50 years ago. Really, it's an antique, isn't it? It would be an antique. But I haven't changed it. I know I could have spent a lot more time on the face, but I thought that might bring a smile. And also, visual aids are wonderful, aren't they, in reminding us of the tube of paint. Now, so that's that done. And now something else I brought out of the attic, and I thought that I've got so many pictures, they've got to be in the attic, because we can't, we don't want the house to look like a gallery, so the paintings on the walls are chosen, and they are obviously limited to what you'd expect in a normal house. Whereas in Leinster, it was wall-to-ceiling paintings without any space. Didn't need to redecorate because you couldn't see the wall, couldn't see the walls of the paint. So this is a Sunderland flying boat at the end of the war, just touching down off the coast of Northern Ireland after having been out looking for U-boats. And so when I had an exhibition, everybody wanted to buy one of these. So I thought, I'll put them into print. And so just over here, could you show that one? This is one of the prints from this. And so what I'm going to do is, If you like one, you have one. I'm not charging anything. If you do put anything down as an offering, it will go to St. Michael's Hospice. But if you'd like one of those, I think there might be two there. Yes, there are. There are two. If you'd like one of those, you're very welcome to have one. Also, I've got. I did give about 20 of them to somebody who was raising money for air ambulance. And about that one, Rebecca. This is another print which I've done. And again, if you like something like that, if you like it, you're very welcome to have it. And there's no charge. And these are prints from the originals that I painted. And thank you. Now, any questions so far? Or have I covered?
Did you explain that you actually had a very lovely album with all the
poems.
All the poems
Yes.
in? All printed up, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, we have. You've seen
Yes.
it, haven't you, Trevor?
I have.
Yes.
Yes.
So Linda got all the poems together, put them in an album with photographs supporting them, and that hasn't been published yet. But when it comes to collector's picture, you never know. It might be, mightn't it, Rebecca? It might be published when it comes to collect that. So I thought tonight I'm going to do a demonstration, and I haven't done one for some time. I was about 6 years ago. I had sepsis, and I was in hospital, sepsis and pneumonia, and I had a text message asking me if I could give a talk. And so I said, well, I'm in hospital at the moment. And they said, well, that's no problem, we can send an ambulance. I think they were pretty desperate for somebody to know what it's like. And, but I'm going to paint that. Going to paint that. So, here we are. Now I have taken the liberty of putting a piece of masking tape across, because from where I am, I can't possibly say whether something is horizontal or not. So I've got the paints there, I've got the palette here. I normally bring a big tablecloth, and I forgot tonight, so I'm using my apron. But you're far enough away not to get any paint as it comes out. So I think I can just about reach over there. Yes. So this is white paint. I'm going to be using these brushes. Not small ones, but these brushes. And this is white paint which I mixed up today to this so that it's nice and runny. I don't want to block anybody's view. Are you able to see?
Yeah.
There. Now, when I was in my sort of heyday, at the end of the talk, I'd have somebody out who'd never painted before and paint along with me. And out of that, I knew always that person would join a class, and probably whenever I gave a WI talk, they would always want a Saturday class. So I'm going to put some over here as well. Just a bit clean brush over there. That's it. There's not much to see at the moment, but this all helps. And people have said to me, can you teach anybody to paint? And I used to say, well, yes, but if you really want to. I asked that. I did a talk to, I think, the Marks and Spencer staff in Hereford, and this lady on the front row said, could you teach me? And I said, well, if you want to. She said, but I'm blind. Well, really, that was a bit unfair, wasn't it? Because very difficult. But I have had people both paraplegic and tetraplegic in class, and one lady who didn't have any use in her arms and legs and couldn't talk. And she used to come from Keir, where there was a home, a residential home or such, and she would come with a helper, and the helper would put a brush in her mouth, and she would paint, along with all the others. And she was in a sort of what you might call able-bodied group, which she liked, and her mother, she used to go home at weekends, and it came to me, I was told that her mother had said, at last we've got something that Jean has done, and she loves her paintings. And it makes it all worthwhile, doesn't it, when you even just one. Anyway, now, let me see, I'm going to put out cadmium yellow. No, this is lemon yellow. Lemon yellow. I haven't painted this one before, so but what I'm hoping to do is, by doing this, is inspiring somebody who's never painted to have a go, and when you see how easy it is, because all painting is moving the paint from the palette onto the canvas. That's all it is. Because it helps to have a bit of practice. When I started painting, it was in Singapore in 1963. I didn't have anybody to show me. Nobody was painting that I knew, and I had to go through the whole thing myself. So much easier if you've got somebody to show you what to do. When I finish this, I shall take it home and put the finishing touches to it, and then give it your Trevor to do what you will with it, raffle it, or to raise funds for your group, your club.
I'll raffle it at the Christmas dinner.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, should be able to buy a couple of Christmas puddings with it. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good basis to start. Let's see. What's this? This is orange. Now I'm doing the, you know, if you mix yellow and blue, you get green. Well, we don't want green. So I'm being very careful to keep the two apart. It's not the easiest thing to reach. It was the first time I came, as it says in the book, it was 20 years ago, wasn't it? And my father-in-law, Hugh Gascoigne, came. And I was saying to Rebecca, in those days, the place, we were next door and the place was full, and Hugh always told me they'd come to see what Hugh's son-in-law looked like. And, yeah.
Do you have a particular time of the day to do your painting?
No, I get up in the morning and do a couple of crosswords and 50 press-ups. And then usually what happens, I paint until about 4 o'clock when our grandchildren come, and then I put everything away and go in and spend time with them. I think when you get to my age, you'll find that you'll value the time, value the days, and value the being with. Other grandchildren live in London, so we don't see them very often, and they'll probably be off to Japan. Linda told me yesterday they'll probably go when I've gone, but we don't see them very often, but we love them just the same. Now I'm going to put some glue on the top. Oh. These are oil paints. I sometimes paint in acrylic. Acrylic is another form of paint, dries very quickly, and I don't recommend it to start with. Oil paint is good. Now, when I paint in the winter, when I'm not in the workshop painting because of the temperature, I use water-based oil paints, so there's no smell. That's in the top. Then we've got to bring that down to blend it with the colour underneath. That's it. There is a bit of that colour down here, so I'll just paint that in like that. There's a bit of violet into it. Just a little bit in the top. Yeah, the sky is always bluer at the top and fades out as it goes down.
We haven't seen that colour here for a long time.
No. No. That's right. Now I'm going to make this a little bit darker. So I've got here Payne's Grey. Now this is going to make, I'm using violet, blue and a bit of Payne's Grey to darken it, and I'm going to darken this a little bit like this. If you're familiar with Bob Ross, this is a sort of thing that he would do. Good chap, Bob Ross, because he died some years ago. But he always had a little. You're familiar with Bob Ross?
Yeah.
He always had a little squirrel in his pocket, didn't he?
Yeah.
Or a little mouse.
Mouse.
It was but we couldn't find it. There was. You did see a rat the other day, but I don't know. Yes. He had a way of cleaning his brushes as well in a big bucket. Yes, he was a kindly chap. He was in the Air Force as well, but the American Air Force. So now I'm going to come back with another brush and a bit of white. This time I'm going to use this white here. do is just put a little bit of white around the edges. And a few wispy white clouds up here. That's it. A bit of white down here, reflecting that. A bit more white there. And we've got yet to put the tree light in. And it might need a bit more orange, but you can leave that. Now, this is where the big brush comes in, because what we do, we brush it very lightly across like that to diffuse the whole thing.
What do you think of all this street art?
Street art,
Do you mean like in Hereford? There's a lot at the moment, isn't there? Yeah, like the bull. Is there a big bull?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as long as it makes people feel better. The art it's like music or writing, isn't it? It can have an effect.
Yeah.
I spoke last time about the effect of that painting had on the lady who saw it, and she was brought to tears. Remember, it was the scene in Gethsemane that Michael Caravaggio painted, and she stood in front of it, not of any particular religious persuasion, but the scene actually made her cry, and I think that's what people would like to think, that you would feel better, you'd feel uplifted, and hopefully when I'm doing this you think, well, I could do that. I mean, Robert could do it, anybody can do it, and that's the way it should be. Now let's just darken up down here now. Two brush marks which I don't want, and yes, some of the illusional art where you get somebody painting a hole in the road that you could see from a certain angle is very clever. The other thing is they do it in pastel and then it's washed away, which seems a shame, doesn't it? But in fact, I've got a poem. I've got a poem to read to. Do you think you could stand another poem?
Yes.
Well, where is it, Rebecca? It's over there. Would you pass it?
Yes.
Yeah, that white one on the
This
top.
one here.
Yes. In my yard, some time ago, I'll just give a little bit of a break from the painting at the moment. This is going back to the 80s, and we had a couple came to the Whitbourne classes from Ledbury, and Robert must have been a bit of a poet because he wrote this. Now this, bearing in mind, I was probably 40 something at the time, so it probably means more to me now. It's called Robin's Reward, so I will read it to you. St. Peter looked hard at the painter who was standing before his gate. Just who do you think you are, young man, arriving here so late? I'm sorry about not arriving on time, the artist replied with a smile, but I got held up at the hospital while they looked for my heaven-bound file. My name's Robin Clifton, a teacher. I'm peripatetic in paint. I had to look that up because I wasn't quite sure whether that was a good thing or not. But as you know, peripatetic means a travelling teacher. Well, no fixed abode. I pass on my skills to the artless and old, and those who artistically ain't. Now, Rebecca thought I was saying autistically.
So you can't say that.
Yes, of course, no, I couldn't say that, but it artistically. Oh yes, said the angel, do tell me, just what sort of pictures do you do? We could use a bright lad who could handle a brush to touch up a ceiling or two. I must disappoint you, the painter replied. I feel it is right to come clean. My oldies don't care much for murals and such. They'd rather a nice woodland scene. We can do you a nice line in Robins. Do you fancy a fine waterfall? Or how would you like an old cottage or two complete with a Cotswold stone wall, with smoke coming out of the chimney, and in the foreground there's always a gate. We could throw in some horsehair foliage on the trees for about the same rate. We could do you a nice bunch of roses, a picture you'd soon learn to treasure, with a smart golden frame all around it, and delphiniums thrown in for good measure. Then again, and just off the presses, I could show you our finest new piece. It's a goose girl beneath her straw bonnet, on the road with her gaggle of geese. Come in, lad, said Peter to Robin. It would make quite a change, I can say. You're the first one from Leinster in heaven. Make a start on that goose girl today. Now, I lived in Leinster at the time, and the horsehair applies to the way that we did the foliage. It was rubberized horsehair. Packing from aircraft spare parts that I packed up my things when I came back from Singapore, and I thought might come in handy, and did, because we were painting foliage instead of using a brush. So I hope I'm sure I'm not the first one from heaven, first one from Leinster in heaven, but it was a nice thought. Now, I think looking at this again, and it's a good thing to have a break from painting, usually about 3 months. Get on with it and then put it aside and then have another look at it. The other alternative is that, especially doing portrait, if I'm doing a portrait from photograph, I do most of it with the picture upside down and the photograph upside down. That way, I'm painting what I see and not what I think, because you can get used, it's called shut-eye, and you can get used to something which is definitely not right, but in your mind you think it's right. And I had somebody say to me, we were painting woodland, and they said, what do you think of my trees, Robin? And they weren't, so I said, well, I'm getting used to them. That was the best I could say, really, because you don't want to say anything negative, do you, about somebody's work. And I've always tried to be encouraging and not be disparaging.
You're talking about still art there.
Still life?
Yeah, still life.
Yes, yes.
And you put it back to front, upside down.
No. If I've got a photograph, if I'm painting that, I'll have that upside down, and I'll paint it upside down, rather than having it the right way round. So I'll have it like that, so I'm just relying on what I see rather than what I think. And you might put it that way up, or that way up. And when I'm teaching somebody to do portraits, we normally do that. Turn it up the other way, if you're painting from a photograph. Because if you're painting from somebody sitting, not many people would like. Yeah. Yes, still life, I might have mentioned it last time, I used to be quite disparaging about still life. I thought, still life, my sort of saying about still life, is it all right for curtains and carpets? That's where still life belongs. And then somebody brought a painting from a Birmingham chap who painted gooseberries, and they were so real, and one of the gooseberries had gone on a bit too ripe, so you could see through it. It was amazing, and even the little hairs on the gooseberry. And I thought, there's merit in that. And there's somebody has taken time and trouble, and you think. And then I thought of that violin behind the wall at Hampton Palace, King Henry VIII's place. There's a behind a door, on one door, there's a violin painted. You may be familiar with it. He's familiar with it, yes. And it's so real. It's called trompeur, to deceive the eye. And it's so real that people have been, over the years, reaching out to touch it. But it's a painting. And I was about the age of 12, and I was listening to this thing on a crystal set, this program, and I thought, that would be amazing to paint like that. And so then I went into painting still life. And last time I brought a whole load of vegetables, didn't I? And fruit and vegetables. We've still got them. They're not going anywhere at the moment. But there is something to be learned, and you can enjoy still life. One thing I have not done much of is abstracts. I think I brought a couple of abstracts, and they were not something out of my head. They were, after scraping a palette, it was a blown up palette with all the scrapings of the day on, and I painted that. Now the children love those, and they're not slapped on each, but it's harder for me to do that, or say longer. Take me 50 hours to paint one of those, whereas with a painting like this, I could probably put it to a finished state in a couple of hours. That's something I haven't done a lot of. I've only done 2 abstracts in all these years, and I've got them both. They haven't gone anywhere. Because I'm painting in oils, we did have classes in pastel, in watercolour. I think those are the main ones. Still can use the big brush just to smooth things out. There. Now I'm going to take that masking tape off. And I'm going to put the line of the darkness in there. And for that I'm going to use the raw umber and all the dark colours. Are we still all right for time? Yes.
Curfew's not on yet.
Curfew's not on.
No. And yes, it's when, so as I heard a preacher say once, he said, I don't mind people looking at their watch, it's when they start shaking them Yes, I did have, in one talk, I did have somebody who went to sleep, and I thought, well, probably the tablets are just kicking in. But normally, if you give me a time, I will stick to it. But if you don't, well.
I think we've all got time now. I think we've all got time now.
You have.
Very therapeutic, isn't it?
Yes.
It is relaxing, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. That's the skyline. Now over here, we've got to come up a bit. The raw umber gives it a darker base, and rather is not too cold against the cold colours. Now I realise this is not as orange as I would like it to be. The white overcame the orange, but when I finish it off, it will all be put right. I used to say very often at these times, what would you like me to paint? And then beforehand I would say to somebody, say a woodland scene, and they'd say, like a woodland scene. I thought, oh, woodland scene. And I'd write somebody, a herd of stampeding elephants. No. Well, not so good.
I'm not the stooge.
No, nobody's been asked. No. Is that a straight line, Rebecca?
Yes.
Yes, it is. I've got to come up there with the orange now. I think that's high enough. Just put a bit more in here. One thing about doing a demonstration like this is that if you did ask me back, it's say in 10 years' time, if I haven't gone by then you'll either have forgotten everything I said, so I can bring the same things again, bring all the fruit and veg out again, or I can do a demonstration of something different. And if you've been to Homer Parish Hall, Church Hall, I've over the years I've been asked in their summer meeting to go and give a talk and a demonstration. They've got about, I think, 6 paintings that I've done hanging in the hall, and so to make it life interesting, one of them I said, oh, I forgot my brushes, so I just used a piece of rag to do the whole painting with a piece of rag or piece of kitchen roll. On another one, I only used a brush like this for the whole painting, and tried to do it in a different way. And if you look at their website on a Sunday morning, when they have their service in that hall, the family service, you would see some of my paintings behind. It's still there.
Do you think it's confidence?
Sorry?
Do you think it's confidence that brings people to be able to paint? Being, actually
Having the confidence.
confidence.
Do you think it's confidence? Yeah.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so the way I teach people to paint, or have been teaching people to paint, I've still got one class going. I think 45 years of being on my feet in front of a class, probably, I'm ready to retire almost. I teach people to paint, not to draw, so there's always a drawing. I give them a drawing, make a template, and put the template, whatever it is, whether it's the Aslan from the Lion Book and the Wardrobe, C.S. Lewis's line, that would all be drawn, and then they would paint it.
Yeah.
And that's a good way to start, because if we had somebody who, you may know Wilf Jones, I don't know whether that name means anything to you, he was, at one time he was the warden at the church up on the hill, and his grandchildren said, paint us a teddy bear, Grandad. And he said, well, I don't know how to. They said, well, have a go. And he said he realised he could draw after coming to painting for all that time, he had transferred his painting skills to be able to draw. And it is confidence, you do need confidence, or you need something to guide you, something where when people come the first time, and I've had classes where nobody could paint, nobody's painted, and you don't ask them to do something which you're not showing them, and you make it as simple as possible, so that it's good to reach out, but not to reach out beyond that next step that you can achieve. And so over the years, I've got people who have been coming to class since 1982. 1982. Still can't do it. Well, they can, but they come for the fellowship. They come, like you come here, to meet and to get together, people like mine. You know, I say to people, well, you've got to get out. I mean, never mind what it is, might be the past, but at least you've got to get out. Ideally, we would say, get out and join the church. You know, that's what ideally. So you're getting ready for the next bit when you've gone. But certainly get out and meet people. Otherwise, the world won't look for you. Now that orange that I brought is not as orange as I would have liked it to be. So I'm just going to make it a bit more orange by putting some red in. Now that's a better orange. That's a better colour. There we are. Yes, I'm happy with that now. There we are. Yes, the first class I ever took was in Leinster Priory Hospital, and there were 6 people sitting around a table, and we painted single rows. I've still got mine. I've still got the one I did, and it was a very mixed bunch of people. There was Jim Pegg, who all he could say was "thank you." That's all. The only word after his stroke that he got, and we thought he was a gentleman, and that would have been a word. And Mrs. Rusnick could only say no, and we thought Mrs. Rusnick, well, we thought she was Polish, and so with this little group from the church, we went in to sing carols one day, and one of the group had just come back from Poland, where they'd been taking aid and parcels and things like that. And I said to Nigel, Mrs. Rusnick over there, she might like to hear your adventures in Poland. And so he went over and spoke, came back, said she comes from Leinster, she was married to a Polish man. So that didn't work quite so well.
When do you know when to stop?
Half an hour before you think. That's what I say. You know, after half an hour, if you think you should finish, you've probably gone too far. That's a very good question, and that comes up quite often. I've looked at my job as stopping people painting rather than starting them painting, because if you keep going until it starts getting worse, the whole picture is that bit worse than it might have been if you'd stopped before. And so knowing when to stop is very important. You know, these days I probably don't have to think of it too much, because I've got an idea in my mind what I'm looking for. But to start off with, you know, I'd never been this way before, so I didn't know when I got there. You know, it was a bit of and that's how people, other people are. I think you don't know when when you finish. But that is a good question, Trevor. How do you know when to stop? But I'd say, I always give the same answer, you know, stop before you think you ought, and you'll probably be all right. Because there is such a thing as over painting. So I've dragged a bit of that darkness down there into the water, and so I'm just this one's be a bit darker over here. There. I hope that gives you a bit of an idea. I don't know what it looks like from where you are. How's it look, Rebecca?
Looking really good.
Does it look?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Very relaxing.
I thought about running through and doing it before, because, as I say, I haven't painted this before. And painting it like this for me, I mean, I can see the whole thing upside down. So I did read in one report about demonstration.
You're getting the picture of depth in it now.
Yes, yes.
You can start seeing distances between.
Yes, yes. I think you can get the measure of it. Now this brush really should be a bit cleaner now when getting rid of some of those nasty lines. But there's always a bit more that can be done. Now, I might even put a few birds in. And if I can find a frame, Trevor, I'll put a frame on it for you. Oh, didn't mean to do that.
The gold frame, did you say?
Oh, yes, gold plated. Yes. Yes, I've got some frames like that one you saw, but we've all our frames at home have to match. Linda likes to match the frames, so never mind whether it suits the picture or not. You know, this one's got to be on it. But yes, there we are. I think I've probably gone as far as I can with that now. There we are. And we've got it all recorded because they want to see it, the children. And next time, if there is a next time, when you ask me, would it be alright if they come along? Yes. And you can see them for yourself. They're very, Amber is 4, and Sapphire is 7 now, isn't she? And
do they paint?
They
do, yes,
do.
they
Rebecca
do,
would tell you,
yeah.
they get their paints out and they're drawing things, craft work.
They do.
They love it. They love it. And of course, Linda's very good as well. And Rebecca is very accomplished. And you're an artist in your own right, aren't you? Rebecca once said to me, I said, your painting is really good. And she said, yes, but I can't paint like you. And then she thought about it and said, but then again, I wouldn't want to, would I? Which is quite right.
I don't remember saying that.
You don't remember? No,
No,
it sticks in my mind. I think about it every night. Not really. No, the things that children say, we've all got things. And we were saying, why don't people write them down? Why don't people write them down, things that children say? And Peter, when he was, I must have told you last time, and I have got his portrait here tonight, when he was about 6, he was sitting at the table at the kitchen, and I was sitting near him, and he was doing his maths, and he said, Dad, I can't do this with a lot of people watching. I said, but Peter, it's only me. He said, yes, but look at the size of you. And, on another occasion, yes, he said, oh, you're giving a talk tonight, Dad? I said, yes, how do you know? He said, you've got your talking trousers on. So apparently I've got trousers which I only wore when I gave a talk. And dozens of things like that. He said, he said, I've been on this earth 5 years. And I said to him, what do you think of it so far, Peter? And he said, it's great. Isn't that wonderful? Yes, we're blessed with two wonderful, I know Rebecca probably won't want me to say, but two wonderful children, Peter and Rebecca. They couldn't have, I know everybody's children are the best in the world.
I'm a bit biased.
And I'm biased, yes. but they've been a pleasure throughout their existence, and it makes life so much more worthwhile, doesn't it? When you've never had a worry, never had a worry. I know it doesn't happen with everybody, and we've got friends who wish things were differently, but we've been very blessed indeed. Peter and Rebecca, now each one has 2 children. Peter's married to Yoko, a Japanese lady. We say, did you know Mary? Mary, Rebecca's grandmother, Mary and Hugh Gascoigne. You did. Well, we always said Mary thought Peter would marry an English rose, but he married a Tokyo rose. Which, if you went through the war, you're probably familiar with the broadcasts from Tokyo Rose. Yes, and so they would probably end up in Japan. Now, Japan is a place where Peter found when they first arrived, and they were on the platform of the station, and Yoko said, "I'm just going." No, Peter said, "I'm just going to the jet." So he went to the jet. So when he came back, Yoko wasn't there, but the suitcases were there, unattended. And when Yoko came back, he said, "What are you doing leaving these?" She said, "Well, they're quite safe." No, that's the sort of thing. In Japan, the opportunist culture of, if it's loose, nobody's with it, I'll take it. No, has not reached there. They're more honest. Obviously, you've got crime, you've got criminals, but generally speaking, life is safer in Japan. Certainly safer than in London. Anyway, that's another story. So I think I will leave this here. Now I'll take it with me, but I'll leave it there, and then over the next few days I'll finish top, and then I'll give you a ring, Trevor, and tell you that it's ready.
But it's got a lot of depth.
Has it?
Yeah.
Ah, thank you. Yes, I think it can have a bit more. You know, this is the photograph I'm looking at.
Yes.
It's quite a simple picture as a demonstration. You know, there are no tricky bits because I can't get around. Normally, I would probably be able to get over the top of it, but I feel I can't do that, especially as I do suffer a bit with a stiff back. There we are.
Presumably you use an easel at home though.
I use an easel, I paint flat down, I've got various ways, but I've got what you might call a studio easel in the workshop, which is also like a studio. And to do other things as well, like wood carving, model aircraft making, flying control, and that sort of thing. So
No, he doesn't get bored easily. No.
lots of things. Yes, a very good thing that I've learnt recently is if you get a plastic bottle, a lemonade bottle, and make a shape, and put the shape in, you can, and using a heat gun, you can shrink that bottle to the shape you want and make wonderful cockpit canopies. There are so many skills, and also this is my first venture into radio control, so I had to learn about the little controls, the actuators, the little motors that move and the radio part of it. And so it's hanging in the workshop, but I haven't yet mastered on the simulator how to land it safely without breaking it, so it hasn't flown yet. But And that's something that's
That's a
coming up.
very full day you live.
Sorry?
A very full day you
I have a full day, yes, always a reason to get up. I think we all need a reason to get up, especially when you get to, well, I'm 90 next year, and so I definitely need a reason to get up. So I have a pretty full day, and I'm very well looked after. I mean, Linda's a very good, well, I call her a trophy wife, really, my trophy wife. And
They see you disappear into your studio.
into the
Studio.
yeah, oh yes, yes.
Have you been to Chatsworth House?
I haven't. No.
You need to go
Ah.
because Churchill had his.
Yes. Yes. So his
That's a
exhibition.
Chartwell. Chartwell?
Yes.
Yes.
Chartwell?
Who?
Chartwell.
Chartwell. Oh yes, it's a Chartwell. That's
Yeah.
right. Yes.
It's
No, I
got-
haven't been. I've been there. I don't go far from Credenhill these days.
Yeah.
In fact, I hardly ever go to Credenhill. I'm normally in the workshop. But I haven't been to Hereford. But, well, I go in if I've got to go to the medical centre or something like that. I did a few, something that might really amuse you. We've got a few minutes. A couple of months ago, I had 2 ulcers break out on my legs. Well, it started off with my knees wet, and so I was not moving around so much, and as a result of that, my legs swelled up, and then a couple of ulcers came, and so I went, and they said stop the blood pressure tablets because that can cause swollen water retention, so I stopped those, and I had to go for a dressing, and I went for a dressing. I'm not going to mention any names in case you either know or relate it to the lady involved. But I had to go to one of the clinics to have it dressed, and went in, and she said, well, I don't know who you are or what I've got to do because the computer's down. So the computer's down, so I said, well, I gave her my name. My name's Robin Clifton. I've got a couple of ulcers here, and I've come for the dressing. So she said, oh yes, and now the dressing before, they haven't got a stocking, so they put a bandage round, just down to the bottom of the foot. And so she put the dressing on and then wound the bandage down, and the bandage came down to my toes. And so then the job was getting my shoe on. Well, it wouldn't go on. It wouldn't go on, and struggle as she would, it wouldn't go on. So I said, well, I don't think the bandage should go right over my foot. So she took it all off and did it all over again, and still the shoe wouldn't go on. And she actually dropped her head, and I waited a minute before she lifted it. And then she said, haven't you got any bigger shoes? Well, I said, well, no, not on me. Well, I thought afterwards, you know, if I'd thought about it, I should have said, no, but I've got my Coco the Clown outfit in the boots.
She needed aircraft socks, didn't she?
Yeah. So anyway, I said at the end, I said, well, thank you very much. I mean, she actually did, as I said, didn't put the bandage right down to my toes, and the shoe went on. And I said, well, I'm very sorry if I caused you any distress. And I was sincere about it. But that didn't go down too well. You did not cause me any distress. So when I went for the following week, and it was another nurse, and they said, well, next week you've got an appointment, and we can give you this clinic. And so she said, I said, oh, who will be doing it? And she mentioned this lady's name. And I said, I think we'll give her a break. I'll go to the medical centre. So we gave her a break. But I did feel sorry, because obviously with the computer down, what do you do? You know, that's half your brain, isn't it? The computer.
Yeah.
What would any of us do without our computers?
It just goes to show, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does,
How,
yeah.
I mean, when we grew up, we didn't have we didn't have
Phones.
anything, did we?
Yeah.
We had a slate and a stylus and an abacus to do our calculating on. We were brought up very simply, weren't we? And in some ways, that was a good thing. But when Amber says, "What's a gigabyte?" I can immediately Google it.
Yeah.
Immediately got the
That's
answer.
Google.
Wonderful. It's a wonderful thing that you don't have to go to the library, look through the books, find out what you're looking for. You can ask the question, "What's the weather going to be tomorrow in Hereford?" It will tell you. It never works out like that, but it will tell you. It's always wrong, isn't it, when they tell you it's going to rain and it doesn't, and you didn't do the washing when you could have done.
You think it would though, wouldn't you? By today, you'd think it'd get it right.
Yes, but it's a wonderful tool. Now, I know it can be misused like everything. I mean, you can use a bow and arrow to catch your dinner, or you can shoot your enemy, which everything can be used the wrong way, and sadly, it is.
Yeah, it is. But sadly, that woman was stuck in Lisbon. I mean, as soon as you mention bandages, the first thing I think of is my neckerchief when I was a cub. And your neckerchief used to be used for first aid, and they used to show you how to do all slings
tourniquet.
and all the rest of it.
Yes, that's right. Yes, people seem to have lost what used to be called common sense.
Definitely.
And now it's
They
a
can't do
constant work.
anything without technology.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
right. It's
That's
right.
right.
All the like Alexas and all of this.
Yeah.
And then,
Both Peter and Rebecca are doing jobs. Rebecca's got a master's in architecture, but they're both doing jobs which didn't exist 20 years ago, did they?
No.
And that's wonderful, that they're gainfully employed
Yes.
and they're contributing to people having a better life in one way or another. But these jobs didn't exist, so it's just the same. You know, if you went to your horse shop these days, where do you go? You know, it's a job to find a blacksmith, perhaps. And yet these people were the heart of the community, heart of the village, weren't they? Yes, but there we are. We are where we are, and we make the best of it, don't we? And you know, the old saying, never mind, things could get worse, and sure enough, they got worse.
Well, thank you very much, Robert.
It's been a pleasure.
We've thoroughly enjoyed that. Sadly, I'm still at the painting by numbers.
Yeah, well, I don't disparage painting by numbers, Trevor, because I think you start whatever, but don't stay with it. No, move on.
I'm running out of time. Privilege. And thank you, Rebecca, for your part in it too. How did that go down?
Makes it look very easy.
Just what we need.
It wasn't.
Well, it's always nice seeing something coming out of, you know, you look at it and you're thinking, when you started, it's slowly but surely starting to move together. And the great thing with those is you can use your imagination.
Yes.
And you can see other things.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is good because it gets the old mind.
Well, could I just say that when I saw that Gordon Taylor had been here last time,
Yes, he was, yeah.
I thought, well, how do you follow Gordon? Because he's got a great
Pictures to music.
Yes. Yes, I remember going to one of Gordon's way back. I mean, he's been doing this for years. Yes.
Well, you can tell that from I said to him, he did the last one he did for us was the Lake District. And there was a one picture with any rain in it.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, those were the days. You
Yeah.
go to the Lake District, you get sunshine every day.
Well, he was the photographer for Rebecca's wedding.
Really.
When she was in
Lovely guy, really nice guy. Yeah, yeah.
No, he does it very, he does it very well.
Times for
He's a
them.
good chap.
Yeah.
He's in the Hereford
Is he
Times.
really?
Yeah, he's in the picture years ago.
So,
And
Yeah,
those
it's
pictures
It's lovely, lovely place. Yeah.
well,
So we did the last
Yes,
talk.
well, that's what it's for. That's why I've got this cord here, you see, otherwise...
yeah, otherwise you
It's got that, you can tell by the page on here that it's been used for years.
last time.
That without...
So it's one of his photos in the Hereford Times. Yeah, because he works at the cathedral.
Yes,
Very talented.
yeah.
He used to work at the hospital.
Yeah.
The money for
I would have the photograph upside down and pull that down.